Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Sabbath class, the 6th of September 2025. My bad. Okay, Prophets of Awakening. We'll be reading out of the book of Jasher, chapter 7 and 8 on 9. Okay, we can go to our YouTube channel, Prophets of Awakening, check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine, get the meat out. All these videos will lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. And we have our Cash App at the bottom of the screen for those that want to support the channel or help it move along, okay? This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior and our Redeemer, the Lord of Hosts, okay? This is a non-Messianic channel. Like I said, this channel was created to aid and assist all Hebrews who are waking up to their true identity and understanding who their Savior truly is. Shalom and welcome to the channel. Welcome to our Sabbath class. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, psalms, current events. We have some need to know information. And then we'll open it up for any questions, comments, dialogue, any testimonies. Okay, then our topic for discussion is we'll be dealing with the truth behind October 7th. It was exposed. Okay, and then our scripture reading, like I said, will be out of Jasher, chapter 7. We'll be reading chapter 7, 8, and 9. And we'll read it and break it down. And then before we close out, we'll pick a scripture like normal, and we'll break that scripture down. And then we'll close out. Okay. This moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. Oh Lord, we come before Thee at this time that You have set apart at the beginning of Your Sabbath day that You have given unto us for rest. And we are thankful for the knowledge and the understanding that You have given us up until this point. And we seek Thy face on the Sabbath day that You shower us with peace and enlightenment and a sense of togetherness. Turn not Thy face from us, but hearken unto our plea. O Lord, hearken and do. All praises unto You. Okay. I want to read the Psalms. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read Psalm 44. It's a former deliverances and present troubles. Okay. We have heard with our ears, O God, our fathers have told us what works Thou didst in their days in the times of old. How Thou didst drive out the heathen with Thy hand and planted them. How Thou didst afflict the people and cast them out. But they got not the land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them, but Thy right hand and Thy arm and the light of Thy countenance, because of Thou hadst a favor unto them. Thou art my King, O God. Command deliverance for Jacob. Through Thee will we push down our enemies, and through Thy name will we tread them under that rise up against us. For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me. For Thou hast saved us from our enemies, and hast put them to shame that hated us. In God we boast all the day long, and praise Thy name forever. Selah. But Thou hast cast off and put us to shame, and goeth not forth with our armies. Thou makest us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoil us for themselves. Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat, and hast scattered us among the heathen. Thou sellest Thy people for naught, and doeth not increase thy wealth by their price. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. My confusion is continually before me, and the shame of my face hath covered me. For the voice of him that reproacheth and blasphemeth by reason of the enemy and avenger. All this is come upon us, yet have we not forgotten thee, neither have we dealt falsely in thy covenant. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from thy way. Though thou hast sore broken us in the place of dragons, and covered us with the shadow of death, if we forgotten thy name of our God, or stretch out our hands to a strange God, shall not God search this out? For he knoweth the secrets of the heart. Yea, for thy sake are we killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for slaughter. Awake, why sleepest thou, O Lord? Arise, cast us not off forever. Wherefore hidest thou thy face, and forgettest our affliction and our oppression, while our souls is bowed down to the dust, our bellies cleaving unto the earth. Arise for our help, and redeem us for thy mercy's sake. Okay, so that was Psalm 44. It's the former deliverances and present troubles. Okay, that was anybody have any comments on that? Okay. So we go on to our current events. Okay.
The tourists from around the world have basically pulled back coming to the United States, a move that is costing us tens of billions of dollars so far. And of course, we have seen other countries say we're just going to start trading with people over here instead of trading with the United States because of Trump's economic policies and his trade war. So that's costing us billions of dollars. And now, as the cherry on top, we are watching as foreign investors pull tens of billions of dollars out of U.S. markets because, once again, Donald Trump has made things horrible for the United States, and we're not going to risk our money in his unstable economy. So let me give you a little bit of a microcosm of what's happening here. In February, right, Trump hadn't even been in office for a month. Canadian investors looked at this. They thought, okay, well, under Trump, obviously the stock market is gonna boom. A lot of other markets are going to boom. So they took $29 billion, these Canadian investors, and they put it into securities here in the United States, right? They thought they were going to double their money or triple it, maybe, at least make a few billion off of it, right? That was in early February before Donald Trump had really solidified his economic damage. That was before the so-called Liberation Day. That was before he was tanking the stock market every couple of days. So these investors at the time thought this was a very smart move. $29 billion into the U.S. Well, now that we're in July, these same investors are looking at this saying, oh my God, we've made the worst mistake ever. And they are frantically pulling their money out of this country. Following, of course, investors from Europe, investors from Asia, investors from all over the world who for the last month or two have also been pulling billions of dollars out of U.S. markets. Now, each and every one of these countries that is doing this, Canada included, says this is part of a, quote, de-risking strategy. And de-risking is just a fancy word to say these markets are not stable. Donald Trump can get out there, put a post on Truth Social that tanks the market for 3 days. And it may never rebound. It may be longer than 3 days. We don't know. There is no sense in investing in a country where one crazy person, a demented old man who happens to be president, can send out a tweet and kill the economy. Why would we do that? We're risking our money. We're risking our clients' money. Not that we care about them, but yeah, we get commissions. So they're pulling it out.
Okay. Any comments on that? What you think?
Shalom. I think they already started, the ones that's here, like Bill Gates and them, they started pulling their money out. And they don't have any in the bank, but they're investing things because Bill Gates, he no longer with Microsoft. He has 1% share. So they, either if they don't pull totally out, they're selling most of their shares.
Okay. Anybody else?
Shalom. I think it's interesting too from the perspective is that although we know that you can't hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It reminds me of during the 60s when we had the boycotts and we were not putting our money in certain places like with the bus boycott and things like that. You know, we know there were other reasons for the way that the Civil Rights Act came out, but it's interesting to see that the foreign countries are now seeing the de-investing is the same thing we did, and now they're doing it, and it's having the same sort of effect. So, that was my perspective.
But yeah, it makes sense. All right. Anybody else have any feedback on that? Okay, check this out.
The birth of AFRENET devices. AFRENET was not just a dream of African engineers. It was a
So the thing about this video is that we've been looking at how Africa's rising, how Africa finally got their own internet service or AFRENET, but check these Europeans out and these Americans.
survival necessity. After decades of dependence on Western telecoms, Western satellites, and Western servers, the AU created AFRENET, Africa's own internet ecosystem. But AFRENET needed hardware, and so AU engineers in Nigeria, Kenya, and Rwanda began building AFRENET smartphones, routers, and data chips. Each device came preloaded with AfroGold wallets, One Africa ID integration, military-grade encryption tied to AfroGrid Blade. This wasn't just a phone or a router. This was sovereignty in your pocket, and the West noticed. Part 2, the first leaks of Panic Protocol. Black intercepted European Commission documents labeling AFRENET devices a strategic threat. The documents warned that AFRENET could bypass Western surveillance networks. AFRENET hardware could undermine NATO's digital dominance. AFRENET wallets could erode dollar-based trade systems. In short, if Africans use AFRENET, Africa wins. Part 3, the U.S. Draft Act. Chairman Shadow leaked a draft U.S. congressional proposal titled the AFRENET Technology Ban Act. The act accuses AFRENET of embedding surveillance features hostile to the West, facilitating financial flows outside the USD, threatening the integrity of allied digital infrastructure. Translation, they're scared. Part 4, the EU joins the attack. Not to be left behind, the European Union prepared its own restrictions. Sources say Brussels is drafting a directive that would block the import of AFRENET phones into Europe, ban African students from using AFRENET laptops in EU universities, restrict AFRENET routers from connecting to European telecom backbones. The official excuse, safety. The real reason, control. Part 5, AFRENET's built-in AfroGold threat. Supreme Family, let's be clear. The bans are not about safety. They are about money. AFRENET devices are preloaded with AfroGold wallets. That means every transaction bypasses Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal, and instead runs through AU-owned servers. According to General Umoja, Western intelligence agencies are terrified because, for the first time, Africa is building a financial system they cannot turn off. That's the real reason for the ban. Part 6, echoes of the Huawei playbook. Think back to how the US and EU banned Huawei 5G technology, accusing it of being a backdoor for China. Now, the same playbook is being used on Africa. Ban the hardware, scare the world with spyware allegations, protect Western corporations, except this time it's not China, it's Africa, and that makes the fear even deeper. Part 7, NATO memos. The military fear SEBN has obtained parts of a NATO briefing. The memo warned, AFRENET routers could give AU armies secure communications across the continent. AFRENET chips could disable Western spyware. AFRENET phones could allow Shadow Unit Zulu to track NATO movements without detection. NATO's conclusion? AfriNet is not just a product, it's a weapon. Part 8, Africa's response. So how is Africa responding? Insiders say the AU is preparing countermeasures. Ban Western spyware apps like Facebook and WhatsApp from African cyberspace. Expand AfriNet production in secret factories in Durban, Lagos, and Kigali. Preload AfriNet devices with Freedom software, blocking US sanctions and tracing Western hacks. Chairman Shadow told insiders, the more they ban AfriNet abroad, the more we build AfriNet at home. Part 9, BRICS and the Global South. BRICS nations are siding with Africa. Russia wants to integrate AfriNet into its own satellite system. China has already offered chip manufacturing support. India has signaled interest in co-developing AfriNet routers. Meanwhile, Latin America is quietly watching. Brazil and Venezuela are considering joint AfriNet distribution. If AfriNet spreads outside Africa, the West loses more than Africa. They lose the Global South. Part 10, the people's voice. Supreme Family, the bans may target devices, but the people see the truth. In Nairobi, young engineers chant, if they fear our phones, then phones are freedom. In Lagos, university students are hiding AfriNet laptops like contraband treasures. In Accra, protesters carry banners. Don't touch our internet, don't touch our future. The people understand, banning AfriNet is banning Africa's independence. Part 11.
Okay. Any comments on that? What you think?
Shalom. I love it. I saw it. I've been seeing videos about it. I hadn't seen anything in the national regular media, but I did hear that. I think it went online yesterday. They said all at once, Africa went offline and then came back up on the system. I don't know if
Right,
anybody else heard that, but that's what I heard. It happened yesterday, or if it wasn't yesterday, it was Thursday.
right. Yeah, ain't that something? And the crazy part about it is, I mean, how did these people arrive at the fact that you can go tell a whole nother race of people what they can do in their own country? We're gonna ban your internet. That's crazy. I mean, you gotta look at the mentality of that. How did they even arrive at that? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Anybody else got any comments on that?
Shalon, if I may, when you said that, it reminds me of another video that I saw. It was talking about the act of permission and going
Right,
back to when did it start, where there was who said and how did they implement this whole idea that a certain group of people could be made slaves and implement it. There was no law. It was, other than what they made up. But we know that that was done by the Pope, um, shortly before Columbus sailed, but and in Italy. But I just thought that was interesting that the video, if I can find it again, I'll send it out. But they were talking about the I forgot, it's the act of permission and how all of that started. And when you mentioned that about the audacity that they have to say, well, we're going to decide that you can't do that because we're not going to benefit from it, and somehow try to go about sabotaging it so that you can benefit.
exactly right. Yeah, yeah. That reminds me of like I said in the movies. They put these little 5-minute clips with straight information in there on how they feel or that goes over average person's head. And so in that movie, the Django, when they was at the table when can't think his name, the white dude, but anyway, he made the
Leonardo?
statement. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio. He made the statement at the table that about the black man, why he's a slave, and he went and broke down that in the back of his brain when he was created in the back of his brain and in the lower part of his brain, uh, he was made submissive. His God made him submissive. And then, like I said, a lot of people don't look at that. They even changed the music and they changed everything, and it's like it's focused on that, but nobody catches it. But yeah, he was like a 10-minute rant in the movie. Yeah. So if you ain't seen it, you might want to check it out. Anybody else?
Shalom, everyone. Uh, I agree with what she was saying. It surprises me sometimes that with the Pope, everything he did back in whatever Pope that was, I think Nicholas V, um, putting an edict out or a papal bull, whatever they call it, saying that everybody, you can go capture all the people that are non-Christians and make them slaves. It was like, as you talked about yesterday on the man's line, that was the thing that allowed the Lord's prophecy to come true, that we would be scattered. Because now all of a sudden, here's somebody saying, go pick them all up and make them slaves. And seemingly, like she said, they've been doing that ever since, even with the internet, like the clip you just played. Choosing to.
Somebody else got something? Right. So yeah. And the thing is, even the part about that is that they can make a decree all they want, but for the people to submit to it. So that's where the Lord come in at. Just like he did with the giants. He had certain other giants submit to Israelites. He had like what it was, 200, 300 giants that submitted to Abraham. David had like 33 giants that he has, the Most High put a spirit on them. Judah had a bunch of giants, the Most High submitted. So this part of the curse is for us to be submissive. We put that on as a spirit on us because now we see that it ain't there. Because every time you look at, I don't know if nobody else haven't been seeing it, but every time you turn on the internet, some brothers are beating the hell out of some white boy that ran off at the mouth and said something he had no business saying. So that spirit is gone. That spirit gone. He lifted it. Yeah. Is this something? Anybody else got anything on that? So yeah, so I'm gonna play this right here. Some need to know information. And some of this information, it comes up here and there, in a lot of these conversations on the Prophets of Awakening, but I thought I want to play this and that way I can go in on it at the same time. Okay.
There are people who refuse to believe that the true descendants of Israel, Hebrew Semites, are black. Many of them don't even read the scriptures, yet they'll boldly tell you you're wrong. They cling to a carefully crafted lie.
Disregard AC or Lance.
And pass down as truth. They'll mock you, quote half a verse, just enough to defend a story they've never truly examined. But have they ever stopped to seek the Most High? Have they humbled themselves in prayer and asked the Father for revelation before confidently saying, no, that's impossible? Psalms 83 warned us. It speaks of nations conspiring together to erase the memory of Israel from the earth. And how did that begin? Through colonization, through oppression, through the deliberate rewriting of history led by powers like the Catholic Church. Now, let me ask you something deeper. How many nations are unsure of where they come from? Do the Chinese question their origin? Do the Italians, the Germans, the Spanish? Most can trace their lineage for hundreds, even thousands of years. But what about you? Do you know where your family truly comes from, beyond the city or state you were born in? beyond the vague label they gave you, Africa? Without a DNA test, can you name the land, the tribe, the language of your ancestors? We're told to celebrate Black History Month. But does your mind go beyond the same recycled stories of struggle in the West? Beyond slavery? Beyond Jim Crow? Why is it only one people scattered across the globe who cannot clearly trace their origins? Why is it that our history always starts in chains? And here's something even more curious. In parts of the Middle East, it's against the law to take a DNA test. Why? What are they afraid will be revealed? Why are some in the Middle East tracing their identity back to European bloodlines while hiding the truth about who the real Israelites are? Could it be that Psalms 83 wasn't just poetry, but prophecy? Could it be that you are part of the very people they swore to erase? If that makes you uncomfortable, good, because the Father wants you to seek Him, not man, to ask Him to read what they never wanted you to see. Let's to decolonize the scriptures. We must first ask who colonized them and why. In the early centuries after Yeshua walked the earth, the faith of the Hebrews was hijacked by Roman and Greek minds. Men like Marcion, a wealthy European theologian, looked at the Hebrew scriptures and decided they were too Hebraic, too deeply tied to the true Hebrews. So he rejected them completely. Yes, he threw out the entire Old Testament. And worse, he removed writings that tied Yeshua to the covenant people of Israel. Then came the...
Yeah, notice what this guy right here is narrating this. He just said, seek the Father. He said it about 5 times. Now all of a sudden talking about Yah. Now he's talking about Jesus.
Councils, men of religion, not prophets of Yah. The Council of Nicaea, the Council of Laodicea. They debated which books should remain and which should burn. They replaced the Hebrew worldview with a Greco-Roman one. They divided the Bible into Old and New, a division the Most High never commanded. So ask yourself, did the Most High ever tell men to split His word? Did He command pastors to preach the new and neglect the Torah and the prophets? Or was that the choice of men hungry for control? Before the colonizers ever touched the Bible, Yeshua gave a warning. Mark 13, verses 14 through 18. Their scrolls, their memory. But prophecy didn't end there. Even after fleeing, they were hunted again. Because centuries later, in Portugal, 1497, the Catholic king issued a decree. King Manuel, under pressure from the Catholic Church, and
so this one of those things I'm bringing up, but maybe it might register right here. But the people that was in the land in 70 AD was Edomites. So when Titus and Vespasian came in and ran them out in 70 AD, they sent them to Spain and Portugal. And that ain't registering with a lot of people. Do you think it's a coincidence all of a sudden right here? Go back and play it again. This happened.
They were hunted again because centuries later in Portugal, 1497, the Catholic king issued.
You think that edict, what you just mentioned, is coincidence that it happened in Portugal, in Spain? That's because he really sent. That's what they sent the Edomites said. Herod's lineage. They gave them safe passages to Spain and Portugal.
A decree
Not no
under
Hebrews.
pressure from the Catholic Church and marriage alliances with Spain, made a decision that would scar generations. With one stroke of a pen, he can
The 3 ships that went out. Nina Pinto de Santa Maria left Spain. All this ain't no coincidence.
condemn thousands. All Hebrew children, ages 4 to 14, were taken from their parents, forcefully baptized, effaced from history, no trial.
So let's look at that. You said that was. So how can that be? How is that righteous? Being baptized is righteous if you got to force to be baptized. I mean, that's part of their system. They set up. They got you getting baptized. It ain't part of Yahweh's system. The Egyptians the ones created baptism. And the Nile River, the Pharaoh, all them was, and the royal elite in Egypt was being baptized in the Nile River. That's where it come from.
Parents clung to their children as soldiers, tore them away. Mothers screamed as babies were dragged towards baptismal font. Some mothers chose the unthinkable, ending their children's lives in their own arms rather than see them baptized beneath cold steel. It was not salvation, it was obliteration and intentional silencing of a people's identity, recorded by Rudolph Windsor in From Babylon to Timbuktu. And it was exactly what Yah foretold in Deuteronomy 8, verse 25. The Lord shall cause you to be struck.
Now he back to the Lord. He don't know whether to go left or right. He bring up JC, but now he back to the Lord. Which one is it?
For your enemies, you shall go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and you shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. From North and East Africa, many Hebrews moved further inland into the westernmost regions of Africa, lands later raided for the transatlantic slave trade. They carried what they could, their Torah, names, their customs, but even there, colonizers came. So ask yourself.
So let's look at this right quick. It's a prophecy, Deuteronomy 28 and 68, that a ship is going to come. It's going to get scattered over the whole world by ships. So, like I said, it's 101. So that's the prophecy. Okay, where did the ship show up at? The west coast of Africa. There go the Israelites right there. Did the ships go to Spain, Portugal? Did they go to Antarctic? They went right where the Israelites said, because it's prophecy. It ain't hard.
Why did men who claim to serve the Most High baptize children with a blade to their throats? Why erase an entire people's name and heritage in the name of faith? And if this was truly Yah, why does it look so much like prophecy fulfilled, but from the wrong side of history? This was never about faith. It was about control of history, control of identity, control of the word itself. Portugal was only the beginning. After they silenced the children, they turned to the scriptures themselves, dividing, editing, reshaping the word of Yah into their own image. So why did European powers and the Pope force a perverted form of Christianity on Black people? Was it truly about saving?
Let's write the divide this. I was gonna let it slide, but I gotta get it. Here we go. Check this out. This same guy right here. And I don't know about nobody else. I see it all the time. You know, it's like a skull dog. They only can come around certain Hebrews and do this. Some of them they can't come around. Check it out.
Wrong side of history. This was never about faith. It was about control of history, control of identity, control of the word itself. Portugal was only the beginning.
Mexico.
Who claimed to serve the Most High, baptized children with a blade to their throats. Why erase an entire people's name and heritage?
So here you go. He said, why erase a child people's name? Now watch what he do. So it means he know, right? He know. Watch this.
Heritage in the name of faith.
See that? He said the name of faith. In the name Christ. See, they expose him. So he don't say Christianity. He say this right here. Check it out.
Ask yourself, why did men who claim to serve the Most High baptize children with a blade to their throats? Why erase an entire people's name and heritage in the name of faith?
See, faith. No, Christianity. See, when you say Christianity, then Christ is Christianity. He a false God. That's how identity was erased. You want to say faith. No, it's a religion they created. And they gave and it's a God under that religion, and that religion is Christ. Christianity, Christ is the God. And he don't have nothing to do with us. And he know it.
And if this was truly Yah, why does it look so much like prophecy fulfilled, but from the wrong side of history? This was never about faith. It was about control of history, control of identity, control of the word itself. Portugal was only the beginning. After they silenced the children, they turned to the scriptures themselves, dividing, editing, reshaping the word of Yah into their own image.
He's avoiding that because he want to keep on bringing up JC, fake ass. Check it out.
So why did European powers and the Pope force a perverted form of Christianity on Black people? Was it truly about saving souls, or was it about control? Didn't the Most High give free will to submit to him? Yet centuries before it happened, he warned you in Deuteronomy 28, verses 36 and 64. There you shall serve other gods, neither you nor your fathers have known, even wood and stone.
I caught my stepson spying on me in the shower at the same time.
Wooden cross of European Christianity has become an idolatrous symbol used to bless slave ships and justify forced
European Christianity,
and the black stone of Islam, the Kaaba, first force on Hebrews to convert or die raids by Arab conquerors long before. Even in Africa, they were made to bow to foreign gods, believing they would save them. The prophecy was clear. You would serve the gods of your oppressors, gods your fathers never knew. So when did worship become submission to foreign empires? When did faith become a weapon used against you? And how much of what we call religion today is really the faith of our ancestors or the faith of those who enslaved them? This was never just about religion. It was about domination. Domination of land, domination of culture, domination of the mind. But it didn't stop there. They even changed the map itself, so you'd forget where the story truly began. The lands of the Bible, Cush, what we now call Ethiopia and Sudan, Mizraim, what you know as Egypt, Ophir, linked to gold, stretching into southern Africa and Arabia. But later, maps renamed it all. They created a new term, the Middle East, a name that never existed in biblical times, a name designed to disconnect the scriptures from Africa and its people. They redrew the borders and renamed ancient lands, so you'd believe the Hebrews lived closer to Europe than to Africa, and that the people of the book looked like them, not you. So if they changed the map of your past, what else did they rewrite? We'll uncover
The New
how those
Testament.
same lies moved from maps into history books and even into the Bible they handed you. Before the transatlantic slave trade, Hebrews were already hunted in Europe. They lived in Spain, Portugal, southern France. They were scholars, merchants, farmers. But when Catholic kings rose to power in the 6th and 7th centuries, a new decree went out. Every Hebrew, man, woman, and child, was ordered to be baptized into Catholicism. Those who refused lost everything: land, wealth, even their lives. We were partially taught about this. It was called the Spanish Inquisition. 90,000 were dragged into churches, water poured over their heads, so to their throats, and those who resisted were killed. From North Africa, many Hebrews moved deeper inland into the western regions of Africa, lands later raided for the transatlantic slave trade. Some became Berbers, fierce warriors, and resisted Arab invasions. They fought for their land, for their people, for survival. A Hebrew queen named Diakonia rose among them. She gathered tribes, built an army, and for a moment she pushed the invaders back. North Africa rejoiced, but jealousy between tribes betrayed her. She fell. Her son converted to Islam, and the Hebrews scattered again. Deuteronomy 28 again. You shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And so they were. And it was there, in the heart of West Africa, that their descendants were taken, loaded onto ships, scattered once more, this time across the ocean. Centuries later, in the Americas, the plan to control your mind continued. They handed out Bibles with entire books removed. Exodus gone because the story of deliverance might inspire rebellion. Psalms 137 removed because it spoke of vengeance against oppressors.
This video got banned from TikTok for showing the baking soda.
Blessed is the one who repays you, who seizes your children and them against the rocks. Too dangerous, too honest. The revelation censored because it promised the fall of empires, and the slave masters were the empire. It was called the Slave Bible. 90% of the Old Testament erased, half the New stripped away. What remained were carefully chosen verses on obedience and submission, designed to keep you docile, to make you believe Yah approved your chains. Ask yourself, if they truly wanted you to know Yah, why censor his word? If the Bible was only about salvation, why remove the parts about freedom, about justice, and more importantly, if the slave Bible was so altered to control the enslaved, How much of the Bible you hold today has been filtered through the same hands? Let's examine how even salvation itself was reshaped and how the image of the Messiah was replaced. Even after slavery ended, the chains didn't vanish. They simply changed form. Jim Crow laws kept you segregated. Different schools, buses, water fountains. Different, but never equal. Freedom was an illusion. And even as the leaders rose to fight back, some, those sincere, were steered by the same powers that once held the chains they've never wanted you to have. I want to share a resource to guide you. It's called Demystifying Spiritual Maturity. This book helps you grow, not in the faith taught by colonizers, but in the true relationship with Yah that was always yours. It's
Okay. Any comments on that? What you think?
Shalom.
Shalom.
Go ahead, Mama.
Thank you. I just was going to say I had always, as a child, even growing up, seeing those small Bibles passed around that contain Psalms, Proverbs, and only the Old New Testament. I always felt weird about that, and that kind of the clip you played kind of spoke about that, where the whole point was to only talk about um, basically this made up theology that had nothing to do with um, the real truth. But even those are I still see those. They're passed around in hospitals. If somebody asks for a Bible, somebody might say, "Oh, we only have the New Testament." But that's a real thing that still even occurs now, where just the Old Testament is, or the New Testament, excuse me, is being passed around.
Okay, anybody else?
Shalom. So I think that one of the things that what I'm seeing is that they never really had any power. They only had the power to do the things they did because it was part of God's plan, or part of the curses and the things that um, we had to realize, if you will, because the same thing is happening today. They never wanted us to read and write specifically. Like you said, the video said they took all of our customs, names, etc., everything from us so that we will be, just baseline. And then when we started to overcome, as we were moving towards this place of enlightenment or waking up, they started to implement the same tricks and the same ideas that they did before. Look at what they're doing with education. Education, they've always made education within the Black communities, as especially among the men, as it was uncool to be smart. It was okay for the women because they wasn't really trying to go after the women. They were going specifically after the men. And they're doing that now. Now that they see that the women, because they didn't put an emphasis on them the way they did with the men, the women became the highest educated person in this country. Now they're villainizing all education. And I don't know if anybody heard this, like in the 6 months since this new administration has been in, they said they have taken away the education requirement, which is the higher education requirement for FBI agents. And that's starting to trickle across the federal government. So
Yeah,
instead of people thinking for themselves, they're going to be told what to do. And because they feel like you know, uh, they need to follow along because they're not thinking for themselves. They're going to do what they're told instead of thinking for themselves. So
exactly.
it's the same playbook they've always used. And they think it's going to work because they thought it was from their own power to do it, but it's not. And
Exactly.
so, and they're continuing to try to reinstitutionalize what has worked before. But like I said, you can only do that if you had the total power to do it, and you don't. And they still refuse to believe that.
Yeah, right, right. Exactly. Like I was saying, I don't know if anybody really paying no attention to it, but in the athletic world. You know, if you can look back, like what Magic Johnson did, even what Jordan did, people that was like, wow, wow. But look what these contracts these young dudes getting now, these young black dudes.
The
Even not like,
NIL.
yeah,
Hmm.
like for example, this year, this season right here in the NFL is 16 black quarterbacks. I don't know if anybody knows that.
Yep.
16 of them, they young black dudes, and these dudes getting contracts unheard of. So since Trump came in there, I noticed it's an attack on black athletes on their contracts. Like, look what they're doing to Deion Sanders' son. So you say, what are you talking about? They looking at down the road because Deion Sanders wasn't that nice, and look at the things he done. Now his son coming up, and the money he's potentially gonna make. Like with Lamar Jackson he set out and got all that money. So just imagine when Shador have a son and his son come up, the third generation, the amount of money he's gonna be looking at. So they trying to cut it off now. They making it where they now got together with nobody recruited the dude at the draft. Nobody signed him for the draft. And he ended up in the third round. That's to demean him and cut down the value of what he potentially can make. And even in the WNBA, they didn't denigrate all them girls that came out last year. Half of them ain't even on the roster. They put them off the roster. They got it where they making it look like they skills ain't as good as they think, messing with their mentality, and then like I said, not recruiting them in the status way it's supposed to be. They getting them like in the second and third round, and it's mental. And then not only is it mental, it's saying that you got drafted in the second, third round. You can't request no lucrative contract. You know what I'm saying? And it's all over. You can see it all over the athletic world, even in the entertainment business. Like I was saying Thursday night, people ain't paying attention to it, but it's a lot of black entertainers, young black entertainers, up and coming black entertainers coming up dead. They just had 2 killed yesterday, found them dead, and a lot of black influencers coming up dead. And like I said, and it's going under the radar.
And also, Brother Leonard, if you look at tennis, look what's happening
Yeah.
in tennis just one generation ago
Oh
from
yeah, right,
Serena
right,
and Venus. I think is came back out still playing.
right. Yeah, exactly. And they looking at that. They looking at what's gonna happen down the road, especially what happened with Lamar Jackson. They did everything on the sun to try to denigrate his stock and his worth, but he set it out. And then when he got the contract, he showed them what he's worth. And so, like I said, we already know. Look at the Negroes gonna come behind him. That's what they looking at. But and then the money they gonna have, and then they can't control them like they control those old athletes. They ain't trying to hear it. So they trying to cut it off right now. That's what Project 2025 all about. They seen the progress of the Black Americans. They already know who we are, but they seen prophecies. They seen them slowly manifesting and creeping up. They call themselves trying to cut it off. Yeah,
Shalom. And if I may, let's also remember that's one generation
right, exactly,
post
right,
civil
right.
rights. How quickly that changed.
Oh
That's
yeah,
in my
exactly,
lifetime. Yeah.
right. Even with you can go back to Moses. One Negro shut down Egypt. Okay, ain't this something? Anybody else? Okay, we'll go to we open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions, comments, any dialogue? testimony about anything on this line, or they came across in their research, they want to chop it up, talk about it?
Shalom.
Okay.
I'm a little embarrassed to say this. I didn't know this because it wasn't in the Bible that I read primarily because I have to read, the book of Jasher and all those other books. But I didn't realize that the story they tell us about Esau and Jacob when he came, they insinuate he stole the birthright and all that.
Right.
Um, I didn't know he had just killed Nimrod or
Yeah,
the
when he
seven.
came to get the pottage,
Yeah,
he said he was hungry. Yeah, right, exactly.
yeah. I didn't know that. And so I think that's an interesting part of the story because the way that it's told in the book that most of us read coming up was that somehow he was just out and about and for some reason he was extremely tired and hungry. They never put the context of why. And I happened to come across the story and I started looking at it. And one of the most powerful men at the time who, ran the world was Nimrod. And he
Exactly.
had killed Nimrod and his friends. So, or, the men that was with him. So if you can kind of put a little bit more context on why was that significant? If you
Well,
if it is.
it's two. Another example of that is, like I was saying, we don't have all the actual factuals on certain things. So if you go back to the beginning, right? It says that Adam was a tiller of the ground, right?
Right.
But Cain was a tiller of the ground. Did you know that?
Yeah, because he was the one with the vegetables and the fruit.
Right, right. So the curse. So you can figure out what the curse is because he took that ability away from him, and it's only one way to do that. He took the melanin out of him. So Cain no longer was a tiller of the ground. He said the earth will no longer yield her strength to you. So it wasn't no mark they put on the side of his face or no plug in his ear. No, he turned him white. He took the melanin out of him. So then you fast forward to this. What is Nimrod was known for? A hunter
It's
of men.
mm-hmm.
A hunter. What was Esau known for? A great hunter.
A great hunter. Yeah.
So what did Nimrod? What did Esau do? It,
Hunt him
it tells
down.
you. It tells you the ability. It tells you the ability of Nimrod's ability. I mean Esau's ability. What's going on today? What we just read. So he killed the hunter of all hunters. He hunted. He stalked Nimrod and killed him. But in the scripture they got us thinking Nimrod is the hunter of all hunters. But Esau pursued him and killed him. But they don't talk about that. Ain't that something?
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting story. I still need to do some more reading on it, but I just wanted to hear
Right.
your thoughts on it.
Well, right. It's not when they say a hunter, he's a hunter of men's souls. Souls. So you come to what has been happening to us in the Bible as and the New Testament, taking us away from our, like the Bible says, I talked about it a couple of days ago, days of old. It was a path that had been established from our forefathers. It was a path to get to the Creator. It was a path we understood about heaven. So when he came, when Esau got hold to our scriptures, he took that away. Why? Our souls. He's not the body. He's a hunter of men's souls. You want to detour everybody to end up like David said over and over again. Those that go down to the pit. They're already destined and condemned to the pit. But he wants us to be destined and condemned. The soul, like David said when he died. When he died, these wicked spirits tried to contain his soul and take it down into heaven. Take it down to hell. But he cried to heaven for the Lord of hosts to come and get him. Yeah, so yeah. If that helped any bit. Anybody else got anything on that? Any questions, comments?
Shalom again, everyone. In regards to some earlier classes, you were talking about Benin, and I just wanted to know, had you ever heard or read of the names that the countries go by in the continent of Africa before they were changed, having Hebrew names? There was some history papers. I was reading a PDF that someone else created through their own research, that during the time that that papal bull, excuse me, from the Pope at the time, allowing the king from Portugal to go out and start slavery, and that was way back in 11 or 1200, whenever. That actually, when they went there, that before the names of the countries were changed, there happened to be a land where they were taking people from, specifically Hebrews, and per his own research, this man, he was saying that this was a time when they could tell who was Hebrew and who wasn't, because really nobody was being circumcised except Hebrews. And he goes on to say that, and he shows some old pictures also, that the land itself was just called Judah because that's where they were taking people from. And I just wanted to know, had you read or came across anything that said something similar, that ships were actually coming out of land that at some point was called Judah? And then also he talked about how the very first ship that was ever used coincidentally was called Jesus. And if you had ever came across any of that.
Yeah, I got videos on them, some of my earlier videos. I think especially in, I got a series, 12 series that says non-Messianic conversations, I think, and like in 3 or 4 of those videos is talking about it, but they cloaked it with Negro. That's what it's a that word Negro is being compromised. It's actually originated. It's actually coming when you do your back research. It ties to Judah. So when they got over here, it ended up being they got us from Negro land, and like it says in that couple of those Bible, a couple of dictionaries, in the Zondervan dictionary, it says Ham was the father of all the black races except the Negro. That's Judah. That's the Israelite. So when we got over here, they corrupt that word even further by saying nigger. They corrupted Negro. And then even with the signs, like I said, it's on my videos, but he says the signs they had when they would have the auctions, Negroes for sale. But back in the day, we ain't understood none of that. They was calling them Negroes because they came from Negro land, which is what land where the Hebrews was at. Negro land. West Africa, the same. Like I said, I think it's a coincidence that what's going on now with the Sahel, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. That's Negro land. The Sahel, Negro land, all the same place. And even with the transatlantic slave trade, they had 3 places they was getting most of the people from. Was a place called Benin. We talked about that wall in Benin. That's Benjamin. You had a place called the Kingdom of Judah. Then he had another place that was tied to the Levites. I can't think of the name of it, but that's where they had concentrated all their voyages and where they was getting their people from. They was getting them from those 3 places, which are the people the Most High had. Judah, Benjamin, Levi. Those are the children of Jerusalem. They the head, like he said, the head was going to go into captivity because the head, the Levites, and Benjamin and Judah was the ones that caused the people to err. So that's where they was getting it from. But like I said, they saying they got it cloaked because they're not using those names, but Negro land. That's a Hebrew. That's a Hebrew word. And even what we were just talking about earlier about Esau being a hunter. Okay, so when they was able to do that, because first of all, when you understand that they left in 143 BC and went into Africa, and Esau stole the land of Israel in the book of Obadiah, he knew where they was at. So when he got isolated and they sent him to Spain and Portugal, he knew just where to go. The whole time he got this hunter mentality. He started monitoring the Israelites. They monitoring them from Portugal and Spain. All these books, these earlier books you see that's about to talk about the explorers going into Africa, that's what they was doing. They was mapping out everything out where the Hebrews was at and what they were doing and what they possessed and all that. He the one. He the one was looking for. I don't know if anybody know about they had heard about this golden city that was in the middle of Africa, which is Benin. It's this golden city because how they started tracking it was when Mansa Musa came on the scene. They said they like I said, they followed the money, they followed the gold. They want to know where was he getting all this gold from. There wasn't no Chinese, none of that, was Esau. And so they tracked it back and they found out where it was at. Then he came with the slave ships. When you do the research, I think those Muslims, if I'm not mistaken, is Farrakhan and his little group made a book and a documentary on how all the slave ships was the captains on all the slave ships, the Edomites. But they cloaked it by giving it different names. But all of them, even the plantation, was owned by the Edomites. The whole operation, transatlantic slave trade, was orchestrated by Esau, the hunter. He hunted us down.
Yes, sir. And I find it very interesting in one of the clips you played that you were talking about from one of the earlier clips, how basically the people that were removed from the land and then went to Portugal and Spain are also the same people that started the slave trade. So that it's like they got a free pass. And once they got a free pass to go to Portugal and Spain, they also are the ones from the Pope who got the order to start pulling out Hebrews from the west coast of Africa.
Right, exactly.
And that just
the Pope was Edomite.
Exactly.
The Pope was the Edomite also. Right. It was all orchestrated. And but they got us, like I said, through Christianity, they got us thinking that this is all some helter-skelter type of event that had transpired. No, it was orchestrated. And it was prophesied Esau. When you go to Psalms 83, it lists all the people that had a problem with Israel. Esau was the number one. He's the head culprit.
And then I know recently you've been talking more about how we're seeing the fourth beast. So the third beast, is that still what part of the prophecy we're under, because the fourth beast has not yet, what we would say, arrived?
No, the fourth beast came on the scene. The fourth beast been here. It was when they say, like I say, the Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
That's a complete lie, because like I said before, the Antichrist is supposed to supposed to cause abomination and make it desolate, right?
You said it's supposed to what?
He's supposed to cause the abomination in Daniel that make it desolate, right? So ain't no temple now. So the Antichrist had to come when the temple was in existence. That was Antioch Epiphanes. He caused the abomination to make it desolate in the first Maccabees. Not no Antichrist coming now. So the Antichrist came at the end. When you understand who he is, he came at the end of the third beast. He's the one that ushered in the fourth beast. When he attacked the most, attacked the Most High people, ran them out. They went on the west coast of Africa, and then he attacked the law, like he's burning. Let me read some of that. That's when the fourth beast started. Then Rome came on the scene after that. The children of Chechem came and subdued Antioch Epiphanes. That's who killed Antiochus. That's when the fourth beast came on the scene. So let me get it right quick. When you go to I was reading this the other night, so I'm just going to read a little bit of it. But right here it says in the First Maccabees, it says, and it came to pass after Alexander, this beginning of the third beast, it came to pass after Alexander of Macedon, son of Philip, came from the land of Chechem, he utterly defeated Darius, king of Medes and Persians. That's Medes and Persians, third beast, that he reigned in their stead. That's the beginning of the third beast. And he had before reigned over Greece. Then you keep on going down, you'll see where Antiochus came on the scene. Right here, it says, let me get it, verse 6. He fell sick, right? And Alexander had reigned 12 years when he died. His servants succeeded him, each in his own dominion. After his death, they all put on crowns, as did their sons after them, for many years. This the whole Greek kingdom. It's almost 300 years. Right here, when he say this, this the time frame of the third beast. He says for many years, and they did much evil on the earth. Then here come the end of the third beast. There sprang from them a sinful shoot named Antioch Epiphanes, son of the king Antiochus. This the prince, which is in Daniel 9:26. He had been a hostage in Rome. See that? Rome is the fourth beast. And he became king in the 137th year of the Greek kingdom. That's the end of the Greek kingdom. In those days, there arose out of Israel lawless men who persuaded many, saying, let us, here go right here, the treaty that they tell you about in Revelation, in the New Testament, is right here. It says, let us go up and make a treaty, the 7-year treaty they always talk about, with the heathens round us, for ever since we became separated from them, many misfortunes has overtaken us. Then it's the plan. The plan seemed good in their eyes. Some of the people went eagerly to the king, and he authorized them to introduce practices. See that? All this in the book of Daniel. Authorized them to introduce practices of the heathens. And they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem, and in a heathen fashion, right? And committed uncircumcision and disowned the holy agreement. And they allied themselves with the heathen and became slaves to the wrong. This is Daniel. Daniel told this happened. This is Antichrist. Say, and when his rule of Antiochus began to be established, he conceived an idea of becoming king in the land of Egypt, so that he might reign over 2 kingdoms. So he entered Egypt with a strong force, with chariots, elephants, a cavalry, and a great fleet, and he made war with Ptolemy. This is one of the generals, 4 generals from Alexandria, king of Egypt. And Ptolemy turned and fled before him, and many fell wounded. And they captured the walled cities in the land of Egypt, and he plundered the land of Egypt. Now here we go. They tell you right here, this ain't happened yet. That the Antichrist is going to come, show up in Jerusalem, and then he's going to make an agreement with the whole world. Everybody waiting on this. See, but here it is right here. After he's subduing Egypt in the 143rd year, Antiochus turned back and came up against Israel, entered Jerusalem with a strong force, and in his arrogance, he went into the sanctuary and took the gold altar and a lampstand for a light, and all his furniture, and the table for a presentation of bread, and the cups, the bowls, the gold censers, the curtains, and the crowns, and the gold ornamentation on the front of the temple. For he stripped it all off, and he took the silver and the gold and the choice dishes, and he took the secret treasures which he had found, and he took them all and went back to his own country. Excuse me. He mastered the people and spoke with great arrogance. And there was great mourning everywhere throughout Israel. Rulers and elders groaned, girls and young men fainted away, and the beauty of the women was altered. Every bridegroom began to lament, and she that sat in the bridal chamber grieved. The very earth was shaken over the inhabitants, and the whole house of Jacob was covered with shame. That's the fulfillment of Daniel when he said the abomination that make a desert. Not in the future.
Yes,
So right after this, the fourth beast came on the scene. That's why they're doing what they're doing in the fourth beast. Antiochus Epiphanes set the stage for it. He burned the law. He attacked the law. Like the guy we just talking about, Marcion. Marcion came after this. But Antiochus Epiphanes set the stage to attack the Most High law. That's why Constantine had no problem with hoodwinking it when he came up with the New Testament. They had a track record of tampering with the Most High word and with his people. So they got a whole timeline off, people off. They sitting waiting on the Antichrist to come. When he came way back in 143 BC and ran the Israelites out. That's how we get in Negro land. He ran us out of the land of Israel. We fled into Africa. That's not going to happen now.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. So I was following earlier when you read First Maccabees earlier this week. I'm referring to. So I may have gotten my notes wrong. So the beginning of the third beast is Antiochus, or that's the beginning of the fourth beast.
The beginning of the end of the third beast is Antiochus.
That's the end of the third beast. Okay.
Let me get this right quick and then we'll move on. So right here, you go to the book of Daniel, and it says, let me get it. You go to the book of Daniel, and he says right here in chapter 9, verse 26. And after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. We dealt with that last night. And the people of the prince, this Antiochus, shall come, destroy the city. I just read this, and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood unto the end wars and desolation. That's Antiochus. And then the other part of that is over here. It says, Daniel had a dream about the ram and the eagle, right? I'm gonna pick it up in verse. Then Gabriel came to give him the understanding of the vision. I'm gonna start Daniel 8 and 15. Came to pass when I, Daniel, had seen the vision, sought for the meaning. Then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Ulio, which called and said unto Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, and I fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. So what you have to understand, this end right here, not the end of the world. It's the end of Israel's kingdom, David's kingdom, the kingdom of Israel. So he says, now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be the last end of indignation, for the time appointed the end shall be. Like I said, the end of Israel as a nation. 20, the ram which I saw as having two horns are the kings of the Medes and Persians, second beast. The rough goat is the king of Grecia. That's the third beast. The great horn between his eyes is the first king. It's Alexander the Great. I just read that. 22, now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of that nation, but not in his own powers. Now here you go. In the latter times of their kingdom, that's the end of the third beast, right there. When the transgressors are come to a full, it's Cain descendants, transgressor, a king of fierce countenance, understanding dark sentences shall stand up. That's Antiochus. Now here you go. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy wonderfully. He shall prosper, practice. I just read that. He brought all these different practices into Israel, attacking the law and all that, not making men not get circumcised. He brought all that in. It says, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy wonderfully. He shall practice. He shall prosper, practice, and he shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. Who the holy people is?
The Israel.
Israel. So 25. And through his policies, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace he shall destroy many, and he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. All that's in First and Second Maccabees. All this. So notice he said that he shall stand up against the prince of princes. So is Yahweh a prince?
No, sir.
Okay, so who the prince is? Prince of princes.
The Lord of hosts,
There
Michael.
you go. There you go, right. An angel. Negroes find that hard to believe. Okay. Anybody else got anything? Before we I'm gonna play this little video right here. Everybody good?
Yes.
Okay, so right here, I don't know if anybody know this, but like I said, I'm always recommending books. One of the books that I recommended back in the day was the Book of the Giants. It's a cut off of the Book of Enoch. So check this out. Let me see. Yeah, here you go. This is crazy, but it makes sense. Check it out.
The giants who tried to build a fake ark. When Noah was building the ark at God's command, the giants, sons of the fallen angels, made fun of him. But one night everything changed. The giants had a prophetic dream. They saw the sky open up with fire. They saw how the waters fell until they swallowed entire mountains, and how they themselves were dragged away by a sea of destruction. When they woke up, fear overcame them, and in their desperation they tried to imitate Noah. They believed that they could outwit God's judgment, so they began to build a fake ark, bigger and taller than Noah's. They thought that with their strength they could raise a boat capable of withstanding any storm.
Check it out.
But there was one detail. That ark was not made under God's direction, but under arrogance. Although they worked with gigantic rocks and immense logs, the waters of the flood were unstoppable. Their fake ark cracked in the middle of the storm, and with it sank the giants' dreams of salvation. This story reminds us that no matter how great your power or your works, if they are not under the will of God, they will not stand on the day of judgment.
Okay, what you think? It said the giants built the ark.
Interesting.
Right. But check it out. Look at all the evidence. What about Gilgamesh?
Right.
See
And
that?
this
Now,
made, go ahead, sir.
somebody had something?
No, I was just saying, I was thinking about something I had came across that was kind of sort of speaking a little bit about this, but not directly. They were talking about these giant trees that used to be on the earth, and then all the trees got chopped down.
Right.
So yeah, and they have they showed all of these places that looked like where a tree was chopped down, and it didn't just kind of decay and fall, but somehow looked like it was chopped. And if you
Right.
see the video, you can see these places all around where these trees were, or perhaps could have been.
Exactly. Right. And then, and like I said, look at everything else these people done. They always got a duplicate of what the creator was doing. So this only makes sense too. But the thing about it is, like I said, you go back to, they got two creation stories. They talk about Gilgamesh, but then another thing about it too, in the book of the book of the giants, like I said, those it was twins, giants, like Ore and Sore and Ore, something like that. But anyway, they had a vision. Well, Gabriel came and gave them a vision, and he showed them the same way that Enoch saw the flood in the vision. They saw it in the vision, so they knew the flood was coming. And it tells you they went in the book of Enoch. They went to Enoch. Let me see. Yeah, they went to Enoch to ask him. Inquire the Lord of hosts to find out what it is that they have to do. So it ties in what we just said. It ties in. It makes sense. So they built the ark, but the Most High tore it up because it wasn't ordained. But anyway, like I said in the book of Giants, it goes in full detail to tell you the dream that was sent to this giant, and he couldn't understand it. Understand what was going on. He went to Enoch to find out what it was that he had dreamed about. He come to find out Enoch had already dreamed about it too, and it was broken down. Just like he used Joseph to break down the dream with the Pharaoh, and he used Abraham to break down the dream. He did the same thing right here with Enoch, with these giants. Any comments? So that'd be something good to go on a quest on, try to find some research on. Everybody good?
I have one more question. Speaking of the giants, so I had read somewhere that they themselves had made some information to be found later, and it was basically information that could be found if the world, basically if there was a flood or if there was fire that destroyed everything, and that because there was a flood, the information that was made to be preserved through a fire only was destroyed, but the information that was made to be preserved through a flood remained, and that's how the information continued to be passed along, because they had information that was made to be preserved. Have you heard of that? And
yeah, that's in the book of Jasher.
Right.
That's another thing they took out about, you got Cain, you got Canaan, and people get these men mixed up. You got Cain, Canaan, and Kenan. Kenan is the one that after the flood out of Noah's lineage, they pretty much took him out of Noah's lineage, but Kenan went to the land of Shinar is where that's at. That's why Nimrod went to Shinar. That's where that information was at. It was carved in the mountains. So, but Kenan went and found that information, and he wrote it all down, but he didn't tell Noah about it. So that's in the book of Jasher. But that's the reason the story of Shinar is so important, because Nimrod looking for that. That's why it says they went east, and they found the plane. They found a plane in the land of Shinar. That's where the information was at.
Yes, sir. So
Right.
outside of that area, information that's found on walls elsewhere is just a result of that. Is that the best and the correct answer? Like in California right now, it's faded away after all these years, or fading away. It's actually still there. There's like a picture of things that no one could ever imagine thousands of years ago anybody knew, because it depicts what we're doing now, which is, you had a clip about this, CRISPR, DNA, changing people as they are, like the mice and stuff, that they could take the melanin out of their skin. It's on the walls thousands of years ago, and they're huge paintings, which would also make someone believe, because they're so high up, that a tall, big being made these paintings. Exactly. So is it correct to believe that after Nimrod, that information just got spread out, and that's why we're finding these things, paintings all over the world?
They just duplicated what the 200 angels done. They just duplicated. That ain't what the previous people had done. They just duplicated. I mean, they even had other floods. It talks about it, if I'm not mistaken, in Jasher, that he flooded the Mesopotamia. A certain region he flooded in because of the people that was doing something there. He flooded in a couple of other places. He caused floods, but not a worldwide flood, but he caused a flood in certain places. And they downplayed all that because it's gonna shine a light on who it is that's doing it. So that's why they took all that out. They just made it simple to lead you to JC, to the New Testament. So they took out a lot of stuff. Okay.
Yes, sir. And I agree. The whole thought that the whole world will never be flooded again can sometimes, as you're alluding to, make people believe that no place will ever be flooded and damaged and destroyed.
Right. Exactly. Right. Anybody else? Okay, I'm in Josh. I'm gonna read out. I read last night 4, 5, and 6. I'm gonna read 7 and 8 and 9. This out of my book of Joshua, which is, like I said, this book right here has a little more information in it. I think it's an earlier version before they start uh, hoodwinking these books. Okay, so I'm in 6. Okay, let me get 7. Yeah, it says, and it came to pass. I'm in Joshua chapter 7. It came to pass when the people saw all the signs of the wonders which Moses wrought in the night or in the sight of all Israel, in the presence of the congregation, that they believed. And Moses said to the elders of Israel, send also with me Aaron, my brother, that he may be a spokesman for me and for you, and also Joshua, the son of Caleb, that he may bear the rod before us. And the elders of Israel said unto Aaron and unto Joshua, go, and may ye and all your children of Jacob find favor in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. So we see right here, not only did Aaron and Moses go before the Pharaoh, Joshua was there too with him. Joshua was holding this rod, Moses' rod, right? And then it says, then went Moses into the Pharaoh and said, 80 and 1 years have we served thee, yea, with rigor servitude have bowed down our necks unto thee. And behold, the land of Goshen is not able to bear us, and the number of thy servants increase daily. Wherefore, let us now pass through the land of Egypt into the wilderness, that we may go and sojourn in the land of Canaan, from whence we came out. See that? For behold, O Pharaoh, thou hast said, our forefathers had said, our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the land of Canaan shall be thine inheritance. It shall be the dwelling place of your sons, sons, and your posterity forever. And the Pharaoh said, are ye come hither to mock me? I regard not the prophecies of your fathers, neither will I let the children of Israel go up out of the land. So they're doing the same thing now. Pharaoh said, you don't give a damn about the prophecy. So that's the same thing they're doing now. These Edomites, they don't care about the prophecy. So 9, and the house of Jacob, and they got Negroes doing it. So say the house of Jacob are the nurture of the Egyptians. Wherefore do ye, Moses and Aaron, dissuade the people from their duties. Then Pharaoh called unto him the taskmasters whom he had set over children of Israel, and he said unto them, ye are negligent. Bring ye unto my treasure cities, Python and Ramesses, the fifth of the increase of the land of Goshen, by the 6th day. Ye shall bring it to the full tale thereof. And the taskmaster did as the Pharaoh had commanded, and they pressed sore the officers of the children of Israel, and they were straitened and they were straitened for time because the commandment of the Pharaoh was urgent. And they cried unto the Pharaoh and said, give unto to thy servant other 6 days, so shall we be able to obey thy voice, O Pharaoh. But the Pharaoh answered, I will not uh, hearken therefore, and bring of the increase of your lands, your flocks, and your herds, even the fifth part of them shall ye bring unto to Python and Ramses. And as they departed, the officers of the children of Israel met Moses and Aaron in the way, and they said unto them, the Pharaoh will not hear us, neither regard he the words of our forefathers, neither have the words of you, Moses and Aaron, any power over him. It have been better for us that you had never gone forth and spake unto him. And Moses was angry because of the sayings of the officers of the children of Israel. And Moses said, wherefore shall the Pharaoh evil interest of the children, wherefore should the Pharaoh's evil interest the children of Israel? Okay, that was chapter 7. We go to chapter 8. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses assembled together the sons of Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Gershon, Cabot, Mara, Issachar, Israel, I can't say these names, right? Even the hands of the families of the children of Israel. And Moses said unto them, the heart of the Pharaoh is set against us, and it has come to pass when we speak unto him to go 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that he oppresses us sore. And now, O elders of Israel, ye this day bear witness how that our fathers, even Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, dwelt in the land of Canaan and possessed the same. And they said unto us, it is a land that flows with milk and honey. And this we ourselves know, that the compass of it will receive us and our wives and our children and our flocks. Remember also the words which Jacob spake unto us, when as yet he was with us, ye shall go up and dwell in the land of all your fathers. And the hands of the fathers of the families of the children of Israel said unto Moses, go unto the Pharaoh in our names, in the names of our elders of our houses of Jacob. And Moses went unto the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh was walking in his garden by the riverside, and his wise men were with him. And Moses said unto the Pharaoh, let us, we pray thee, go through the land of Egypt into the wilderness, that we may serve the Lord. And the Pharaoh answered and said, surely to make a nation of thy people, that thou mayest rule over them, art thou come. From whence art thou? And Moses spake unto the Pharaoh and said, the Lord hath sent me out of Midian, am I come? And the Pharaoh said unto Moses, what meaneth that rod that is born before you? Moses and before you are Aaron. And Moses spake out aloud unto the Pharaoh and said, thus saith the Lord, it is the wane and token of my power, whereby you and all the Egyptians shall know that I am sent unto you. And the Pharaoh was seated under a pavilion, he and his wise men, and Moses, Aaron, and Joshua stood there also. And the Pharaoh said, is that the rod of which I have been told that thou, Moses, didst throw it upon the earth before the elders of Israel, and it became a serpent? And Moses said, O Pharaoh, it came to pass as thou hast spoken, and the heart of the Pharaoh was as salt. And Moses took the rod, and he threw it down before the Pharaoh and before his servants, and the rod became a serpent. Then the wise men, the musicians, the sorcerers of Egypt threw down their rods before the Pharaoh, and their rods became serpents. But the rod of Moses was as a serpent. When the rods of the musicians and the sorcerers were not. And it came to pass on the morning of the next day, as Pharaoh walked by the riverside, Moses spake unto the Pharaoh and said, Lo, this will I do. I will smite this river which thou seest with this rod, and the water thereof shall become as blood, and all the moving creatures therein shall die, and the river shall stink. And the Pharaoh said unto Moses, If thou cannot do this thing, thou art able to be a lawgiver too, and a ruler over thy people. And Moses smote the river with his rod, and the river was as blood. And the musicians did so, and the Pharaoh laughed at Moses. And it came to pass on the tomorrow that Moses smote the river, and it brought forth frogs in abundance, so that they crawled upon the banks thereof. And the musicians and sorcerers of Egypt with their rods smote the river, and it brought forth frogs. And the Pharaoh spake unto Moses and said, Where are now thy wonders, seeing my servants do the like? And Moses went out from before the face of the Pharaoh, and Moses returned unto the land of Goshen, and he called for the elders of Israel, and he told them all that he had done in Egypt, and that the Pharaoh would not let them go, would not let them from their burdens to go through and the land of Egypt into the land of Canaan, as our fathers had promised unto us and unto our seed forever. Okay, so we go to last chapter 10, 9. I mean, and in those days it came to pass that Caleb, the son of Hezron, stood up before the assembly of the children of Israel, and he said unto them, Now know ye that the Pharaoh and his servants will not let us go peaceably through Egypt until the promised land. All the Egyptians to compare with us, can they bend a bow? Can they set forth the battle? Or not thy backsliders? Are they not weak? Do not they delight in ease and in soft raiment? Wherefore thus says Caleb, the son of Hezron, Up, let us take the bow, and on tomorrow let us enter the land of Egypt, to pass through it to the land of our forefathers, our father Jacob. And let no man do hurt unto the Egyptians, unless the Pharaoh and his servants should seek to slay us. And the counsel of Caleb was pleasing unto all the disciples of the bow, who were the followers of the son of Hezron. And Moses said, Caleb, the son of Hezron, hath well spoken. By midnight on tomorrow will we and all the host of Israel uh, essay to go up out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass on the morrow that these things were told unto the Pharaoh and unto those that were with him. And the wise men of Egypt said unto the Pharaoh, Let the Hebrews go, lest peradventure they slay us, our wives and our children, and take away the land from us. Then the Pharaoh called for Moses and for all the elders of Israel, or the children of Israel, and he said unto them, I will let you, your wives and your children go, only your flocks and your herds, they will stay, they shall live behind, you shall leave behind, so shall you go up out of the land. And Moses said, How then shall the people be sustained as they pass through Egypt, and when they come into the wilderness, if our flocks and our herds go not with us? And the Pharaoh said, As you pass through the land of Egypt, I will command my servants, and they shall lodge you by night, and provide food for you by day. Wherefore shall ye lead your flocks and your herds, and the increase of your lands behind ye. Then shall ye pass through the land of Egypt, and no one shall fight against you. Seeing if you lead your flocks and your herd, if you lead your flocks and your herds into the wilderness, there must they perish in the desert. And Moses went forth from Pharaoh, spake unto the children of Israel, saying, the Pharaoh let us go, our wives and our children, but our flocks and our herds, and the increase of our lands must we leave behind us in the land of Goshen, and the people were moved. Then spake Moses and the elders of Israel unto the Pharaoh, and said, thy people shall buy our flocks and our herds and the increase of our lands with a price, that we may have wherewith to purchase necessities of thy servants, the Egyptians, and we may pass through the land. And the Pharaoh said, now will I let the people go. Only this shall ye observe, that my people shall give you for your flocks and for your cattle, for your increase of your lands, such pieces of money as they shall think proper, and ye shall sell unto them all your possessions. And Moses and the elders sold unto the Egyptians on a set day, even all that they had, their cattle, their houses, the fruit of the ground, yea, and all of the work of the children of Israel. Only Miriam begged of the Egyptians a male and a female of every flock, and of every herd, and every fowl, and of every beast. And it came to pass that the flocks and the herds and the possessions of the children of Israel were so great in number that the Egyptians lacked money to make good the purchase thereof. And the Egyptians said unto their wives and unto their daughters, give unto us your earrings, your jewels of silver, and your jewels of gold, that we may pay unto the Hebrews that which we owe unto them. And the price thereof spoiled the Egyptians. And it came to pass when the sale was over, that Moses hastened the children of Israel to go up out of the land of Egypt. And the trumpet sounded about midnight, and the children of Israel hastened with great haste to go up out of Egypt. And Caleb spake in the ears of the people, and he said, let every man take this bow in his hand, so shall Israel go up out of the land of bondage with an outstretched arm. And they did so, and a great fear fell upon all the Egyptians. Any comments on anything I read?
Shalom.
Okay.
Brother Leonard, in verse 20, when it says Miriam, so either way, it was put on Miriam, how they got it written here. Only Miriam begged the Egyptians a male and a female of every flock and of every herd and of every fowl and of every beast, because they wouldn't be able to do sacrifices without the animals.
Right.
That was important, because Pharaoh tried to make us leave him.
Right. And actually ended up fulfilling prophecy, like he had said.
Right. Yes, sir.
Right. Anybody else got anything? Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna pick a scripture, and then we'll read that scripture, and then we'll break it down and close out. Anybody got anything? A scripture they want to read or present? Okay, nobody has a scripture. Let me get one right quick. Okay. I'm gonna go to 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 1, because of people don't understand what Messiah means. Messiah means anointed one. So right here is a big discussion going on who the Messiah is. Is it David, or is it David, or is it JC? So I'm in 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 1. It says, and the Lord of hosts said unto Samuel, how long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill thy horn with oil, go, and I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And Samuel said, how can I go if Saul hear it? He will kill me. And the Lord said, take a heifer with thee and say, I am come to sacrifice the Lord. Okay, so then we get to verse 12. It says, and he sent. Samuel had looked at all of Jesse's children, but one was missing. And then verse 11 says, Samuel said unto Jesse, here are all thy children. And he said, there remaineth yet the youngest. And behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, send and fetch him, for we shall not sit down till he come hither. And he sent, and he brought him in. Now he was ruddy and with a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to. And the Lord said, arise, anoint. See that? Him, for this is he. Then Samuel took the horn of oil, anointed him in the midst of his brethren, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. So right here, like I said, who you gonna believe? You're gonna believe what the apostle and Peter and all them said, or New Testament, or you gonna believe what the Most High Lord host himself said? He told Samuel to rise, and Samuel took the horn of oil and he anointed David in the midst of his brothers. So that's what Messiah means. Mashiach, whatever you want to call it. The anointed one. That's what that means. This ain't happening to JC. Okay. So with that being said, nobody else have anything, we're gonna close out right here. So I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I see everybody at to close out the Shabbat at 6 p.m. Central Time. Shalom.
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 I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it, because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up, and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is, and the Godhead.